June the 4th. We're doing the Collective Foundations class again here at Donna Key's office, some Collective Foundations. Last week, we kind of started off a little bit. The taping didn't come through. Today, one of my counterparts, Mike Searcy, was going to do a presentation as well. Things happened. He was called out to work, so I'm stepping in for him, but he will be here next week, guaranteed. And we'll have some other, Elder McCray will be after that one. We'll have a couple more guests coming on that can lead as well. But today, we're going to talk about there's some types of communication in the workplace. Communication is huge in the workplace. I know this from having a business and understanding that, and sometimes we struggle at it. Are both of them on everything on it? Okay, but both of them are it's like when you have things, communication is key. It really is, and sometimes one of the problems with leadership is the fact that if they're not on the same page, then the directive they give maybe seem like it's not all together. But here's the thing: when we're dealing with one business is dealing with another entity, sometimes if that one is not together and the things they're doing, then it filters down. And we're going through just a little bit of some of that here with Donna Key as well. But we're going to get through it with communication. I think a lot of times that it takes communication in order to do that, to stick to it and be definitely be on the same page. Issues that we've had in the past with the communication in the workplace can cause a person to leave, cause a person to want to it was a incident. I'll just tell you right now, it was an incident where there was a boss was kind of going through a bad day or having a bad day. And, they were blanking out, but people were talking to them and they weren't paying any attention. And I think a lot of times, with communicating, not looking somebody in the eye, while we do it sometimes, but it kind of, it is in a way can be so seen as disrespectful to that counterpart or to that coworker. So we have to always remember, those are some of the things and that's something, we kind of teach, teach us, when we're young to kind of, look someone in the eye when we're talking. Like I said, for a lot of times, like I said before, that can, really make a situation real bad when we don't do that. And a lot of times that's what happens. But, some people don't know that. I mean, if you're on the phone a lot, especially some of the younger generation, not being funny, and you hadn't have, definitely properly sat down with some business etiquette or just etiquette with communicating with a person, it's hard when you type in, you're not even acknowledging people when you texting, a lot of times, down the street or wherever you're at. Sometimes in the car, which hopefully you're not doing, but those are, while you're driving, I should say. But those are just some of the things that we struggle with as far as with communicating. But that's, but good leaders, they can deliver a real good, one-way communication to the teams. But it's definitely to, anything that changes. As a business owner, I have to do it all the time. Now email is away. So, and the reason why I say that, because email is more formal than it would be a text. But I know we send text all the time. But it's hard to say you're gonna send your invoice in through a text. We just had to send the coworkers timesheet in. Imagine if we send it by text instead of sending it by email. You may not get that receipt you need in order to say, listen, I sent this. But then when you go back, you can't find it. So that's a lot of times, definitely communication, though, so the different lines they have. Or well, we have classes, on that as well, as far as, communication, talk about your nonverbal skills, some of you, even your nonverbal skills, like I said before, even those you have to watch at times. I definitely do, just because, sometimes, you put off different, I don't know, some people say I look mean at times, and it's not, for me, it's not an excuse, but sometimes when I'm focused, it's just that way. I don't know how to be. I'm not. I do get upset sometimes, but usually, I understand I have to, and my voice is real deep and loud as well. So I have to understand that I can't talk as loud as I usually do. But I'm just saying, because it could put off to be, like somebody like you're definitely creating some kind of hostile environment because you're mad or whatever. So you just have to watch that. It's just one of the things that it talks about. But this is why this is effective and important in order to do these things, because you motivate. Good communication in a workplace, it motivates everyone. It really does. If you come in, like I said before, and then, you come in dragging or coming in upset, like I said before, maybe not yelling, but just definitely an upset. It matters. But that's also with the coworkers as well. Sometimes when there's a task put in front of you, you do the best you can, but you need to follow directions. But if you're not given those directions, it's very hard. And it's very, I think we did a business Christmas party. I'm not even here, but we did a Christmas party. And it was pretty cool. But one of the things was wrapping a present with no hands. And it's it was kind of weird. It's like with your partner. It was but it took communication in order to do that. What I mean, between the two. And it was pretty fun, and people got a laugh out of it. But it was more building those things as well. Because sometimes you have to understand and communicate if we have problems with something as well. And I tell you right off the bat, sometimes I'm all over the place. I mean, and as a business, as a boss or leader or whatever, sometimes I am all over the place. But I ask you beforehand, just please have a pen and pad or something ready, because when I'm saying something, it's because at that moment I'm focused. You know what I mean? And I'm focused on it. And when you're juggling 3 or 4 different things, this is why it happens that way. Without a quote unquote secretary or somebody that's really what it would take. Let the secretary get to it, or somebody administrative assistant get to actually all the errands that you need covered, let them know, and going from there. But they're still communicating, right? And having communication, that's the thing. And especially in business owners, I try to do is communicate. But like I said before, I'm not the best at it. I'm not the best at it. I need to improve. And that's why these classes help me as well. I don't know if you all had some communication problems before we start at work.
Well, one thing to interject here, sir, is you say people are on their telephones a lot. I mean, that's how we communicate so much daily. Now it's through our cell phone. So if I need something from Steph, I might text him or give him a message by text or something like that. Yeah, I'm not looking for him to send me an email. Just respond to my text. But I don't know if the job happened in a place where you can't be on your phone when that's that. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or if the boss said, well, you shouldn't, you shouldn't have been on your phone at this time, because I had already told you to do something. So I don't know, I don't know how that would be communicated, from the beginning.
Well, I think that's the thing. You're right. You're right. I think, owning a business like I did, I had one in place, and people who work here know that, right? But we have some newer, workers as well coming in, and they don't know that. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying that, but I mean, apparently, like when the boss. And that's the thing. This is another subject, but sometimes the boss or whoever is leading is not always there. But hopefully, you're a worker that will do things if the boss is there or if the boss isn't there, right? You know what I mean? And especially if if they convey the fact that it's going to, in a meeting, which we'll talk about here in a second, because the first one is leadership communication. That needs to be one way, but it also, needs to be, definitely, through a memo or do something, of an email and explaining things. But so that's one of the things it talks about. Also, managers would do this as well. They would kind of convey these things out to the masses of the things they need to do as far as in a job. But here's what happens. What happens is, Steph here, he's been here a little while. See, that's another thing, when we talk about it. That's another, like I said, another subject, but Steph's new, right? But me and Steph had an agreement that Steph's gonna come in a managerial position. But I got 5 other people that work here who aren't managers. Well, guess what they're gonna not do? They're probably not gonna accept Steph so much, because number one, he's young. Number two, he hadn't been here. And why should he get to do it? But it's just like anything else. I mean, leaders sometimes don't make decisions based off of seniority or anything like that. They based off of need, the things that they need. And if they need these things, then that's why if they don't see it, and the staff that they have. I'm not saying the staff's bad. They may need to develop at this or whatever, but they don't have time to develop it at that time. So they bring in someone in that can do that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, because maybe they've communicated these things and seen that it hadn't been done. And that's usually what happens, you know, when it comes to it. But having a manager helps, but you have to respect your manager as well. You know, that's the thing. You do have to respect your manager. I mean, things here, you know, and Donkey isn't so much like somebody standing over top of you, but there are people that, because I mean, in my thinking, if you treat someone, you know, with respect, and also, you know, and give them, you know, a level of, you know, I will not say freeness, but definitely a level to grow, you know, and definitely, you know, you kind of explore, you know, where they at as a worker. I mean, that's one thing, but you know, and that's the thing. I mean, you have to do that, or you can be over top of them and be micromanaged. If you want to be micromanaged, that's one thing. And then it's like, I'm a step every step away. I'm over here sitting back. You know what I mean? This whole conversation we have now will go a lot it'd be uneasy to step if I moved to that chair right there. It just would, because I mean, it's cramped, it feels that way. But that's how it is when you micromanage, you know what I mean? Everything you do, even though I ain't here, even if I'm over in the other office, right? And you know, if he knows he can't make a move, who told you do this? Or who told? That's what I'm saying. Then it's like, I ain't gonna do nothing. You know, I mean, I'm way on him just because that's the case. But if I give you the range, you say, listen, I need you to explore. I need you to maximize your time here. Then that's communicating. That's communicating the things you need to do. But you know, but don't take it like that's downtime or that's slack time where you can do what you want to. Don't take it away, but you can, because sometimes you do. But sometimes you got to get in the good habit, because we can get the bad habits too. Like I said, checking the phone, different things like that. We got to get those good habits as well. So, and also speaking up as well. You know what I mean? But it's good, you know, to be formal. I mean, and have formal communication. I just talked about having a meeting Monday. It's not a get in trouble meeting, but it is time to meet. Because sometimes, I mean, when you're not here and things go on, you need to meet to get it back on the same page and get everybody back on the same page, right? And that's one of the things, you know, that it talks about. It also talks about updates. And that's the thing about it, just updating things on the climate. We're going through a transition as well here, you know, you know, we're dealing with, right? So, but I'm constantly updating people on how it's going or whatever, so they know. Because I don't want them to be in the dark about it, but then again, I want them to know that this is why some of these changes are occurring. And that doesn't always have to be a bad thing, right? As well. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I know you just coming into the workroom stuff, but I mean, just like even in school, teachers, right? One way at the beginning of the year, then they switch up in the middle because things may be getting out of control. It's a tough thing.
Every day. Talk to the whole class about it.
Exactly. So, but maybe if they, you know, maybe if they would have done some fine tuning, that's just the way it is. I mean, but that's, you know, sometimes, you know, things do get out of whack, and you have to, you know, kind of reel it in with good communication. With good communication, because the only, you know, that's the thing. Everybody isn't, you know, everybody may not be managed the same way. If you understand what I mean. Certain people's abilities are different. You know what I mean? Even with me, I mean, like I said before, there's a computer room. I know about computers. I do. I've been, but I know people wouldn't believe this. In my eyes, it's like one of those things. Like, I mean, some people can relate to, especially athletes, like basketball. Let's just say per se. You know, basketball is one of the things you have to stay on top of. If you play basketball, I don't know, 2 years ago, and you don't play for 2 years, you're gonna be rusty. You're gonna be rusty. You're not gonna, but you're gonna be thinking you can go out there and do. But you can't. You can't, not physically sometimes, and not even skill-wise, you can't. Computers are like that to me. Computers are always changing and things like that. So you gotta be, you know, so sometimes you get out, there's always a new update. Right, because people think it's because they're doing that phone. And it is, I'm saying the phone, and the phone's like a computer too, so I'm saying it, but it's a lot of ins and outs of this thing, man. You know what I mean? So guess what? Put the people in place that have a passion for it, right? And that's the thing. I mean, now, like I said before, that's the even, you know, step even we talk sometimes about, you know, exploring different things in which is communicating. You know, if I just wanted you to stay stagnant and be here, that's not development. The goal is for you to learn, right? And also, you know, definitely maybe own your own business one day. Or even if you don't, at least you know how to run one. Or how you say, well, dang, I don't think I don't think it go like that, you know what I mean, and things of that nature. But it would take you to ask questions, communication, to ask questions like, well, how does this go? Me and another one of our coworkers had this conversation early when we were doing something. And but it worked. It was just one of those things. You know, there's a lot of different ins and outs to this. You know what I mean? But never would I persuade anyone from, you know, wanting to own a business. No, it's not that. You have to have your ducks in a row. You do. And sometimes you gotta be willing to change, but you gotta make sure you update your staff on what's going on. You know, but here's the thing: when you update them, they have to take notes. Now, the reason why, because it goes away. It goes away. They might have something going on last night or something like it had happened, you know, whatever. So they need to get, you know, locked back in, you know what I mean, and on what was going on. And on the way to sometimes lock back in, oh shoot, hey, there it is right here. You know what I mean? And then they have it and they understand what they're doing. But nobody takes notes, and this is the problem. Remember, I might have said before, you know, and you know this, like questions. There's nothing wrong with a question. There's nothing wrong with questions. But how about 5 questions about the same thing? Not because you don't understand it, because you never even take the notion to even write it down, or you know, try to look at it and think, you know, this way at all. You know, and that's the thing. So it's never anything wrong with the question. Any question you ask is nothing wrong with it. It is. I mean, there is no silly question you can ask. It's just, but are you writing down or trying to retain what the question to try to get an answer to? And if you're not, are you answering the question? Well, let's do it. Because you think, like I said, you know, I mean, you know, when I'm in here, like especially, but even outside of, you know, my office or wherever, I'm in help mode. Because usually some people come in for help. Right or wrong. And that's the thing. They just saw it. I ain't gonna say what happened. It wasn't bad. Help. That's what you know. I mean, and that's not the only time it happens. It happens when you're not here.
It happens a lot.
It happens a lot. You gotta think that, you know, feel a little bad, you know, need to get back brushed up on some of the stuff here. Because I want it always to be that way, where you can come in and you know get something, you know, as far as like something to eat or whatever. You know, and that it matters to me because that's what we're in the helping business. That's what matters to me. But it may matter to other people, but we got to communicate that as well. And also, you know, for me, just definitely getting people in place, and other people too as well. So emails are good, like I said before, when we send things in. So emails are good as well. Emails are good as well to you know put it out there so they can see it and understand, you know, what's going on and the updates they may have. You know, and that's the thing. Sometimes, you know, even this and where we're doing this, you know, this is kind of a public speaking realm. I just asked Steph to be in here. He just came on and sat down, but he might not even like to do it. He might not even like to do it. I mean, really, I mean, it's just one. Well, see, and that's the thing. He may do this one day. You know, that's the thing. It's not, I mean, like I said, I didn't make him do it. I just asked him if he wanted to do it. That's all. I didn't persuade him to do it or anything like that. But guess what? I think he didn't feel like doing it, but he did it anyway. Right. And that's what work is.
Get off our comfort.
Exactly. And that's what work is. Work is about, you know, action, a lot of action. If you didn't feel like, I mean, it's a thing, because if you get feelings involved, that's anything. You know, that's a counseling thing. You know, if you get feelings involved and, you know, feeling was an engine and it's all over the place, where are you going to be on the road? All over the place. And how you be at work? Topsy-turvy, all over the place. So sometimes you got to sell it. I didn't say you're not going to have them, but you may put them in the trunk. And now you can hear it, and it's irritating in the trunk, but it definitely ain't controlling the car. And then that ain't controlling you either. That's so having resentment toward, you know, co-workers for moving up or whatever, you just don't know the whole half of it possibly. Right? But we hear it all the time. I mean, I would say, you know, I wouldn't go into the vineyard, but I ain't gonna get into that. That's in the Bible. But those are just some things that you start to see, you know, in like I said, in, you know, the business realm about communication and you know, that kind of lacks. So definitely presentations help, you know, when we do this, and definitely having people in, it keeps people fresh, keeps people, and it's getting ready to be, you know, come about when we have our camp, you know, there will be presenters to come in. So and that's, you know, like I said before, that's even better. You know what I mean? Even if somebody here wanted to present, it's fine. I mean, I think, you know, just, you know, having kids see a different perspective, having a person see a different perspective is the thing as well. It really is. And it's powerful as well. So you got to get away from that fear of public speaking when it comes to that. Right. And that's one of the signs of communication. A lot of times when we talked about a little while ago about meetings, that's another way. And I know people don't always have meetings, but they're important in order to make definitely important for, definitely have to strategize and get things together. It can be collaborative though. We can, meet together. I don't think it's ever a time. I mean, okay, I'll tell you, it was somebody was working for me, right? And we were getting ready for we're getting ready for Father's Day. Maybe doing something for Father's Day through the summer because we did something for the mothers, right? Well, they suggested, and it was a suggestion, and that's fine. But they suggested maybe we do some lotions. Well, I told them I got some lotion. See, but that's the thing. So in their mind, they were right. I mean, they thought it might be a good gesture for a father to get some lotion. Well, I said I had some, but when I brought them over there and showed them, they said, "Oh, these won't work," and they won't. But I wasn't being smart. But because you don't ever want to say, down somebody's idea or anything, you know what I mean? But then when it visualizes, oh shoot, I get that, and then we go back to the drawing board. But it's communication that does it. And understand that too, and that's, a lot of times, we don't want to be misled. We don't want to be misunderstood. So a meeting helps us when that happens. That's why, usually when it's, I hate to say it, sometimes I did a couple times, got a disciplinary meeting at school. I mean, it's to, handle some things. It was early though, but handle some things, But when they call your parents, that's a different story though. I mean, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. But still, you have a meeting. Well, one thing I will go back to in these meetings, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm gonna go back to some of these meetings that didn't shock me, but I've sat in a lot of them. Did not only for me, but for other people, is the mass of paper that they have. A mass on the if we have a disciplinary meeting, they bring in all the disciplinary papers there. You know what I mean? So sometimes we need to know, right? We need to take notes. I mean, whatever meeting you're in, you need to take notes because you don't know because how can I go back and say what that meeting's about? They got 5 or 6 meetings they've had on my coworker over here, and he don't even know what they was about. And then when the parents come in, look, I met with this day. Oh, what? They just sit there and look. But grab that pen out and write it down. I tell people all the time, write it down. What's your name? Who or what? What is this about? Write it down. Because exactly. Then we can go back. Then when I'm coming in, hopefully you go to those disciplinary meetings. Hopefully you're not even in them. But if you are, this is something, or a meeting period, this definitely, when you come to meetings like, that we're talking about things and trying to gather some information about some things about, the future of the company or anything like that. If you have been pad down in a meeting and asking questions and you get the answers you need, or they say revert you somewhere else, that's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, so meetings are important as well.
Excuse me, but
Oh no, go ahead. Anybody, I mean, this is free talk.
Suppose one of your coworkers at the beginning of when everything was fine, and then like you said, we all have our phones on us all the time, and then they get an alarming text to come into them, and that just throws them completely off. So now they not just only fussing with the cell phone, but they fussing with you at the same time. How would you combat something like that?
No, but as far as
I mean,
negative communication, but I go. I mean, we could go to them, right? Is everything okay? First, and then if that didn't work, then we'll have to take it up the chain. But that's the thing. But we are communicating with them. I think a lot of times, that's what we need to do. If we have a problem with a brother, what we supposed to do? Go to the brother. That's what the Bible says. Go to the brother first. But now if that ain't gonna work, then we got to do something else. But that's the thing, and I know some people, because sometimes it's not even you. And you're right. Sometimes it's not you. So sometimes it may not even be the time. Let's say he does get this bad text or a negative text from somebody. Hey, what's going on with it? It's probably in the time. You okay? Probably not. Why I know? He getting ready to throw that. I know it ain't the time. But we you know what I mean? You just know it ain't the time. So why don't they let him do it now? Why don't I say that? Well, I'm gonna give you a minute. And then I'm gonna roll out, because he can't argue. He can't argue with me if I ain't here. That's one thing he can't. I mean, he can try to chase me down, but that's him doing that. Then guess what's happening? I hate to say it, everything pretty much a lot of times on camera. It ain't just no camera here, I didn't know we're on now, but witnesses and different things like that, you know what I mean? But that was ever one of the things I do. Sometimes approaching someone when they are upset is, probably and asking them that question, are you okay? Well, you already know you're not okay. So but it's normal. It's normal. I mean, it's normal. No knock on parents. But I'll tell you one of the worst things a parent can ask a kid. Why? I know it sounds crazy, but it puts the kid on the defensive. And then, and not that the parent may be worried about them being on the defensive, but they're not going to get the answer they want. But I'll tell you the answer they get. What's the answer they get?
They ask what? They get a negative response.
Or which is usually,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I don't know. But what if not trying to be funny, but this is a parenting thing. What if I ask you, how did it come that your name got written on the board, Steph? You can't say, I don't know. Now I'm asking you a definitive question that you're gonna have to come up with. Oh, they just no, they just what?
Oh, they just picking on.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. And these are fine communication skills that we can use. Like I said, no talking to me. Parents ask your kids why, be like, that's fine. But why don't we use them what and how and see what happens? And these things are, trust me, it's little simple things, but they work. But definitely, like I said before, one of the things, that I want to spend a little time with is about customer communication. And oh boy, is that a big, and it's a big one because, like I said before, sometimes how can they be right when you really know they're wrong, but you really gotta
say it right.
Or not say it, but really kind of ease the tension in what's going on. Because a lot of times you gotta understand the realm of when they come in, right? And understand that as well. Remember they say customer's always right. Well, that day and age is a long time ago. I still, with kind of, side toward that. But I think there is a line that you can draw. I mean, you can draw a line to what, you get a customer.
Customer being wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's the old, that's the old verbiage, customer's always right. You know what I mean? That's one of the things, but I do think you have to draw a line somewhere, but I think it's delivery. When that happens, you don't have to, match whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? But usually they clock out, you know what I mean? They pass whatever they're doing, whatever, but you don't have to. You know what I mean? You don't have to, sometimes they have things on the mind. But it's face to face, right? I mean, when this comes about. And it is a lot of times. It is a lot of times, I tell everybody sometimes when they work here, there's going to be a lot of people in here. You know what I mean? And this is one of the hardest things you're gonna have to do, right? So one of the hardest things you're gonna have to do is not be as subjective. Not be subjective. Be objective means, be open to things, that you may not be open to when you come in the door. You may not like this, you may not like that, but then here, this is one of the things I ain't forcing you to, but I tell you right off the bat, this is what it is. We deal with people, we help people, we serve people. This is what we do. I didn't force you to do this, but this is what we do. And if you have problems doing it, which a lot of people do, then let's work on it. Let's work on it. Let's work on when somebody comes in being cordial. Let's not think it's funny because somebody comes in here with no shoes on and they've been in here with no shoes on, right? And not think that it's funny. You know what I mean? Not understand that. You know what I mean? Or the other way, you all young, so y'all ain't digging into it like that. But some of the older, I'm not singling anybody out, but some of the older will, they'll figure out why or want to know why, or that is it a, the why doesn't matter. This is what's going on here. You know what I mean? This is what's going on here. I don't know, that's it. Or
like solve the issue.
Sometimes that's exactly what happens, you know what I mean, or whatever. It's not, well, what happened? Where you live at? So like that, some of those things, and I know people ask questions. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
And I'm not. It's just like I told you before, but some things are, better yet not say it when it comes to something like that, because that's the thing. But it's communicating, and also knowing that as well. But if you're not trained to do that, then you speak about it. And let's get some training on this, being sensitive, having some sensitivity training, especially, and that's what I'm saying. But definitely having a plan of how, how to greet. And it's like we got some new people coming in tomorrow. hopefully they'll be trained where they, can, because that's the thing about it when we train them. And like I said before, when we train them, I'm saying like to be cordial with people and definitely up front right there. Definitely, to meet people, and talk to them, greet them and things of that nature. A lot of times they do. Really, I mean, but because you got to think, this is the first person you're gonna see. If they all grumpy and bad and all that, what you doing in there? Something like that, they ain't no good. They ain't no good. Or you got to be kind of inviting. To come to that. So that's a good thing as well. So the more we do that, the better. The more we can get involved with those things, especially communicate those things to customers face to face. And sometimes it's the way it is. And we deal with them all the time. We deal with them all the time. I mean, and that's what I like, because it's never really dull because of that. And that's getting ready to be jam-packed with kids here pretty soon with the Camp Elevate. So it'll be, but you can gear for it by talking to somebody. You just don't know till you get it. So I guess that's one of the things you just never know when you get there. You don't. I mean, that's a lot of the times, Another one it talks about is informal communication, which, like I said before, could be chats along the day, and things of that nature, asking about information, responding to requests and things of that nature as well. So those are some of the things. That's where now you're talking about some of the social connections and things you might get into as well. And that's how you sometimes establish, find a common ground with something. You never know. And that's, these are form of, interactions you have with somebody. But here's the thing though. Let's say, Steph and his co-worker talking or something like that, and they got a different view about something. When it opens up like that, now I'm telling you, it's just gonna be, you're gonna be, dang, okay. But you just don't know how to come in. But if you open up the door, sometimes that's not how it is. You know what I mean? You can agree to disagree, though. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, you can be. I mean, everybody can just agree to disagree. You know what I mean?
You can be respectful. We don't have to spiral out of something that way worse.
But I gotta know though too. I mean, kind of. You know what I mean? Yeah. They sitting up like this, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? What happened? What happened? Yeah, what happened? What happened? You know what I'm saying? So so a lot of nonverbal. I'm like, what's going on? But here we at work, they always talk, what they talk about, don't talk about work politics, you know what I'm saying? Religion is one of the things they don't talk about. It's a lot of different things, but president and all this other stuff. I'll be like, but not being funny about neighbors. They sometimes always, and I don't really know. I'm not being funny. I don't know a lot about politics and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's the way I leave it at that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be upset, but you might be, but I don't have an opinion about it because I could, but I just don't. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion about it. I mean, maybe I'm just saying that, but like I said before, that's just one of the things. But
stay neutral.
But finding common ground with certain things is one of the way, it definitely is. You definitely have to learn. You can learn from that as well about things about people, right? Informally as well. But hopefully, that's on a good level as well in order to help, you know what I mean? Because what if I, what if, I've never, spoken to Steph about could he cook, right? But you have, and you can tell me, Steph, he make meatloaf and all kinds of stuff at the house. I do it. You know what I mean? And I didn't know it. So now I'm like, what you want? Come do it here, when we have a collective foundation, come in there and do it. So we have something, you know what I mean? Have something, little something in there, you know what I mean, or whatever. Because guess what? The kitchen open, you know what I mean? That's it. The kitchen open,
I'll buy the food stuff.
That's it. I didn't know that. Is that true? I didn't know that. Is that true? I mean, that's it. I mean, and that's why. But we have to work on these things. We have to work on our communication skills at all times. We always have to work on. I have to work on them all the time. You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, like I'm telling you, it is different. It is different when we go through it, and we definitely have things that we talk about as well. But we have to be engaged. We have to be engaged is one of the things it talks about. We have to have better communication as well. And sometimes direct communication is good as well when we run. When we really think about it. I mean, and we put it to the test. I mean, sometimes clear, direct communication means something. So as a boss, as a leader, or as a co-worker, it's the same thing. But it does need to help, and it does help a lot in business, to have better engagement. And it does. I mean, really, speaking. I mean, some people, how it is. Some people don't even speak to you know. I mean, I'm like that. Really, you know.
You make me feel some type of way all the time.
See what I'm saying? I mean, that's just it. I mean, it really does.
I would hate to come to work and leave work upset, you know what I'm saying, because of communication issues. I wouldn't want that to happen. That would make me feel very offensive, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my
Then you gotta come back for it the next day.
Yeah, with the same people or the same
Yeah.
person, you know what I'm saying? If we didn't get along.
And that's the thing. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, those are the things that kind of, you know, that engagement, you know what I mean, and being and it leads to, you know, either an increased morale or a decreased morale when that happens. It really does. And a lot of times when they're not satisfied, when some person not satisfied with their job, they sometimes, you know, they take time off. They take time off, you know, or more time off or whatever, because they want to be away from it. I've been, like I said, I said it before, I've been in jobs where, you know, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? I didn't like what we had to do, first of all. Now here's the thing. If I'm telling you I wouldn't like what they had to do is work, that's not what I didn't mind the work. It was, you know, certain things that, you know, I don't ever want anybody to lie. I don't want anybody to lie. But if you taught that, and like I said, I ain't gonna say the business, but that's one of the things you're not taught to lie, but you
That's the truth.
yeah, lie. You know, I mean, basically lie. I mean, like I said before, you got, you know, it's one car up here and you booking 10 deals. But you really only got one car. I ain't gonna say the name of the place. I mean, I'm not saying the name of the place. Know what they're telling. You know, they know what they're saying. You only have one car. You know what I mean? Really. So I got these trucks over here for $100 a day. Not that car. That's 30 cents. But bring them up here. I don't have any of these. Got those now. I don't know. That's being deceitful, I think. But as I said, I don't want you. I mean, here I don't want you to be deceitful. Just tell the truth. And I think honesty is another thing we talk about when it comes to communication. I mean, be honest. We were talking about this a while ago. We were just talking about being honest. And a lot of times, I don't know what it is. I guess the fear of being fired, fear of getting in trouble. They don't tell the truth. But it doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't, especially because when it happens, you all know this, sometimes when, you know, some people have the ability to remember things, even though they didn't write them down. I ain't saying everybody, but some people can. But then they told me something different the week before that. You know what I mean? But it tears you down. Be like, hey, I don't want that. He lied or she lied. You know what I mean? I don't want that. You know what I mean? Just, you know, really one of the things, you know, being honest, I think is a big key. I mean, it really is. I mean, being key. I mean, a big key to everything. And I think it helps. It helps you, you know, gain trust as well. You know what I mean? And that sometimes even if the honesty kind of be like, well, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. Well, let's work on that. You know, whatever. Let's work on it. I think, you know, it depends on some people, you know, run businesses, they do it differently. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes people you do it to themselves, I mean, as well. You know what I mean? There's a person that doesn't like a job. Let's say their morale is low, right? But they come to work every day. Now they don't do nothing at that job, but they come to work every day. Well, guess what? They just wait. I know it sounds crazy, but they just wait for the boss to get there. And then they feel a big sense of relief. Instead of just saying, you know, put the 2 weeks in and then trying to find something else. I mean, that's the thing. But, you know, morale gets low and then the productivity gets low, and here we go. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You know, and you get comfortable. But sometimes if you never know that, that's the thing. But if you put people in classes and things like that, then, you know, are they tuning those out or whatever? You know what I mean? We got a computer with a bunch of different, you know, things on it. I mean, to me, it's just like anything else. If you can't find the work skills you need here, not because of me, because of the things I have for you, you know, to put in place, that's your fault. It really, it's not. I mean, because like I said before, I mean, it's not like that. You know, it's not like that. You got to want to be, you know, kind of self-motivated when it comes, you know, at least in here, you have to be self-motivated because not everybody's going to be in your face. And everybody, quote unquote, you the one, let's get you doing this. But times it might be, but especially when crunch time, when you laying there in the building, it's a little different. I'm just telling you, it's a little different. You're gonna feel a little different kind of way about it as well. Because you do have to, you do have to, have an income in order to run a business. So, but the income got to be right. I mean, that's just one thing. I mean, ain't nobody got to yell about it, but we got to know when that is the case. I mean, I can't do that now. We can't. We can have, you know, some things. Ask questions before you do that, or listen to clear instructions before you do something. Right? Or write them down. Or write them down. So that's just one of the things it talks about. But improve. The better that we communicate, the better the productivity can be as well. If a lot of times that's like this how it is, and it also reduces stress as well when that happens, as well. So we definitely having those techniques of better communication can help. It can't hurt. It can only help. That's what we're doing even today. Even when we're doing this, like I said, Mike will be here next week. We're doing it. That's the thing. We do this to try to get this information out. It may not be any groundbreaking information or whatever the case may be, but for somebody it is. For somebody it is, and that's why. So you don't ever think that it's like, and even me. I don't do this to just talk. If somebody got some tips or things they want to share, hey, I'm gonna get better at it. If they put it online or whatever the case may be, I'm gonna get better by just looking at it. That's the thing to me. But we know a few things, and we have things in place here to help. So we're gonna open it up for people to come in there and help. That's what Collective Foundations is about, trying to help build, definitely a business sense and some business skills that you may not have, or you may lack at, or whatever, or learn on the game.
The time when you came up with the idea to do the shoe giveaway, I thought it was a great success because everybody, I don't know if y'all was here when y'all did it, but everybody was just pouring in with different kinds of ideas. They said, let's go here and let's go do this. People were coming in with no shoes on their feet and walking out, but they had ideas.
So the communication here was the fact that, Steph said it loudly. He said it, he was cleaning shoes. Well, I bet you if he would have saw, because he had come that Saturday, it'd been a whole different ball.
Oh, he would.
It seemed like that's but he likes to though. But that's another thing he likes to do. He likes to do it. It was when we talk about communicate, me and him, we would gather some in because they were used. Some of them were used. We would gather. Well, sometimes I feel like they've done. But he felt like he could get revitalized.
I asked him, I'll be like, no, you think this is, I could like
to me, without even,
get a couple more.
but I wasn't the one saying, oh, what that mean? I was like, okay, but it's kind of funny we talk about this because that's what happened. One of the first pair that went was the one that I can't think of the exact pair it was, but one of the ones that we both didn't really agree on is the first one that somebody got.
Oh, what?
First one somebody got, there was a guy that came in early before it even started. No joke. I'm just telling you.
That's right.
No joke. He came in and it's right there. You just never know. You know what I mean? But like I said, with good open communication, as far as finding a common ground, basically, to those things. That's a lot of it as well, because that's what we need: collaboration. A lot of times we need collaboration. It's one of the things we try to do. Just collaborate together, and definitely in here. And I know we don't always have that. We did with Christmas party, we did a good job. Some other things we do. But collaboration is a lot. It needs to be a lot better. It does help. It does help people as well. Because it definitely, gets the group together. Especially if there's different things that we need to learn. Really, it does. And especially like I said before, things got a lot. Even here, things got a lot different. In the past, I don't know, 6 months. Really, there's a lot of younger adults that work here. That need not. I'm not saying, well, just definitely acquiring the skills they need, but we have to be the ones that have somebody there to do that. That's even being in this, when we talk about communicating and things like that as well. Even like I said before, knowing that now. It's more of that than anything. It's not, because they're just learning. They are. And this is, I ain't saying this is the best place to work, because I ain't saying that, but it's definitely not like it just ain't. It's just different. It's not like It's not like that. It's not like that. It isn't built to be like that either. When you have definitely a building and whatever, have a goal of helping people, it's gonna look different every day. It's gonna look different every day. You know, when you never know what happened when the bell rings. You know, not like that, not in a bad way. But you know what? And that's the sad thing. You know, the visual that we see here. Not so much here, like in this office, but if they go to the other side where the window, I mean, it's a lot of different people walking through. You know, it really is. And that's something, you know, that you know, that's definitely not like any other. I mean, when it comes to it, because I mean, sometimes they come, they look, you know, because the door said something on it as far as what we do or whatever. They look around, they keep on pushing, you know what I mean, or whatever. But some people come in. Some people come in and ask, you know, and things of that nature. You got to be ready for that. I got to communicate. Not I'm not gonna say for being better at that as well, and also, you know, that understanding, you know, that how can we make that better? And that's going to come from collaboration. That's not going to come from me just saying, "Hey, do this, do that, do this, do that." It's not. It's not going to come from that. It comes from collaboration. That's what a lot of the things that we've done came from collaborating as well. So that's why it's good. I mean, it's good, you know, definitely. One of the things, the good thing is miscommunication leads to sometimes definitely conflicts.
Oh, yes.
Definitely conflicts, you know, and I think one of the good things that we've done, you know, here, just not, you know, definitely not pat ourselves on the back and think about it is that's something we can't have. Because when you're dealing with, you know, the public a lot, you don't want to have a lot of conflicts, but miscommunication gets a lot of conflict started, right? That's why, you know, I say, you know, not breathing down someone's back, not me, but anyone, as far as, you know, deadlines, whatever, and make sure we understand we're going to hit these marks is better than just saying, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this. You still need to remind them and need to check on them. But miscommunication is the reason for those things. It really is. That is very toxic. You know, at times when people are having miscommunication at work as well. Remember we talked about, you know, religion, talked about politics, some of the things that, you know, people get, it's hot button topics people get upset about. You know, it really is. I mean, one of my coworkers is in here, she's in here, and it wasn't at this office, but it was at another office. There was some miscommunication going on, and it didn't get, it got a little tense. It got a little tense, but it was just, it was just something that someone said out loud, not about them, but it really struck a nerve, and you know what I mean. But you know, it did, and struck a nerve in them, and you know, we just talked about it, whatever, you know what I mean. But I mean, because sometimes, like I said, you work around a lot of people. Sometimes you do have some conflicts and whatever, but you got to steer it back in the right direction. You got to steer it back in the right direction, right? But we also have to focus on, you know, sometimes it's not listening too. Sometimes we're not listening. You know, we're not listening to others. I mean, definitely not being empathetic. And I think that's what the problem was doing that, because I, you know, look back at it, whatever. It's like it wasn't big, but it was just something. We don't really have them. So when we do have them, this is what, kind of folks, I don't want that. Yeah. So I want to be, you know, not like that as well. You know what I mean? But everybody knows, you know, if something goes on, go ahead. I mean, not trying to be funny, I ain't saying to be mean, clock out. It's cool. You know what I mean? It's not, I mean, nobody's forcing you to be here as far as that. It's definitely, it's not going to be, I'd rather you do that and say, I'd rather than say, man, I'm going to do it today. Okay. I mean, what am I going to say? Oh, you get in there and do this. He said he ain't getting feeling. I ain't trying to be funny, but I mean, at least he came to me. She came to me. Look, I'm not having a good day. Okay, I get it. Right. But so then ain't the time, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, we figure out not what's going on with them, but how we can better help that so they can stay. Right. Well, one of the things would be just one of the things you said, that phone. Now, if they're on the phone, they see it, and this happened to me. This happened to me before, you know what I mean? You know, I'm not going to be personal, but it happened to me before. And it's hard to turn to you know what, I just didn't answer. Because you're going to go somewhere you don't want to go, and I got to work, you know what I mean? You can't do that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. But the thing about it is, I mean, I ain't a person, but yeah, that's the thing. You know, communicate when you with someone. There's nothing wrong with communicating. Man, I'm sitting right by you. Then I go over there and text you, man, you ain't do this. I'm just right beside you. Why don't I just tell you? You know what I mean? Why don't I just tell you what's up? You know, whatever. And so those are things, because I mean, and people do that. I mean, they, you know, a lot of people sometimes either relationships or whatever the case may be, they give you the communication on the phone or whatever that's real negative, and then your whole day shut. You know, your whole day shot. You know, you dancing, you know, all this other stuff, worried about going somewhere or whatever. So it's just one of the things that we talk about, but then it leads to conflict sometimes because now I'm already in an upset mood, and then here step comes time to play. I ain't trying to I ain't trying to hear it. Then I step up on them or whatever. Just move up. What you gonna do? What you gonna, you know what I mean? That's it. I mean, sad thing about it, it was on, you know, internet, you know, at a real big warehouse, you know, somebody got stabbed to death. For things like, I mean, there's some stuff from the outside, but still yet. I mean, one thing, when what you gonna do with that work site, but that's neither here nor there, but that's the thing. We've had things go on as well here. I mean, in a way, but handled in the right way. Because you never want to, you know, I mean, you never, when we talk about hostile work environment, right? You know, you want to be able to, you know, come and tell, you know, the boss, whoever stuff. But if they say, oh shoot, they didn't told you did this, that's kind of, you know, especially when there's some dangerous things. I mean, I know, and that's, you know, for me, I mean, there's different kind of things, you know, about what's permitted here, what is it in person, you know, definitely in different facilities and different work sites, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's probably no need for it, but I guess, I mean, that's just one of the things, I mean, you know, we have one here, there's no guns allowed on the premises here, but I'm not against guns and I'm like, yeah, I'm not, but that's just one of the things. I mean, it really isn't, but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when we talk about, you know, things like a communicate at least, you know, I mean, and maybe things was happening, you know, that, you know, that was permitted, or, and I get it, it's just not permitted here, but me telling you that and you never know it, then you might care, and it's fine, but I mean, I at least can let you know as an employer, we have a meeting. Now we're talking about communication again, we have a meeting and we iron it out. Basically iron it out, and so everybody's on the same page. With a lot of different things. We don't, you know, like profanity and different things like that. I know people do. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you they don't, you know what I mean, and we talk to them. Because I mean, that stuff, I mean, like I said, for it's no place where you're we're supposed to be a business. I didn't say we dress. I mean, look how I'm dressed. I mean, you dress better than me. You just come for me, you just come for this. But you know, sometimes it's just, you know, I don't know, I mean, different jobs, different things like that. I mean, really it is. You do want to feel relaxed, but there is a time where you have to dress up. I mean, there's a time where you have to be formal. There's a time you can be informal. Let's get it right. I mean, that's the thing. But it's like, you know, with the job we have, sometimes we're out there, you know, I mean, you know, she would know this. I mean, like I said before, she's younger, but that's the thing. When you go, you know, when you're dealing with consumers or dealing with the public, sometimes your look can, you know, I know it sounds crazy, can be put off to them, you know, especially, you know, being, you know, professional, which is good, but when there's a time I'm gonna have to be professional. You done missed 3 different, you know, I mean, if I was coming to your home visit, you missed 3 home visits, you know what I mean, that I've came to, you didn't even come to, right? So when I come next time or the 4th time, I am gonna be dressed that way. Because I don't want you to think, oh, he chilling, he got his nights on, he chilling, whatever. No, I ain't chilling. I ain't getting mad, but we gonna have some business today. But it's not going that way. You know, this is, you know, going on. So there are times we want to be formal, sometimes not. I mean, that's the thing about it. But you know, we communicate that in community. But those are all, like I said, geared around communication. And that's another thing it talks about, you know, being motivated. Being motivated is definitely something, you know, and hopefully we can motivate, and you can motivate your employees, especially with number one, good communication, but also with giving them the skills in order to be motivated. That's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, you can see some amazing things, you know, at your job if you're motivated. Sometimes when you're not, you ain't worried about it. You ain't worried about it.
Well, you know, I've seen, I've been working, you know, I was like, and I've seen jobs, go to a job, and the 2 guys, they started off talking good to one another, you know, and then the next thing you know, they talk about a basketball game, his team, my team, or you know, they get into a conflict because you know you go down my team and you go that I mean, you know, they almost get into a scuffle because they say, well, my basketball team is better than your team, or you know, my player is better than you. And you know, it caused a big conflict, you know, just from that little talk just right there. You know what I'm saying? Cause people to get upset, you know, because your team, you know, your team ain't no good. And I'm telling you that, you know what I'm saying? If you get mad, I'm like saying, it's bad communication.
Well, and real quick, just to end up, that's a couple things we need to go over. Is one of the things. One we play through. One we think about it. Like you just said, what am I talking about this basketball for anyway? I mean, really, what am I talking about this for anyway? I mean, so that's one of the things he talks about. Really, and what is the goal?
Yes.
What is the goal to say what? I mean, I don't know if you like that. You like basketball? I don't. So what's the difference? I mean, I'm not going to not make him like it, and he ain't gonna make me like it, you know, if that was the case. So let's leave it at that. You know what I mean? And don't keep on going. That has nothing to do with the goal of us getting this job done. We gotta clean this whole place up. But what mean you like basketball or not, that ain't doing nothing for it. So let's keep on going and let's do what we need to do. Right. And sometimes it's what like I said before, when we talk about communication, what format is the best? Sometimes it depends. I mean, it depends on what format is the best to accomplish your goals. If you felt that, you know, having a meeting is your best, that's what you do. If you felt that, you know, just having an informal meeting is the way to do it, luncheon is the way to do it, that's the way. You know what I mean? That's the thing. But we have to understand that, you know, communicating is very important. You know, I mean, you really do. And you have to give it your time. You have to spend time on it as well. That's another thing as well. You have to spend time on it. You know, it's an effort you have to have in order to, you know, communicate, especially you have to, you know, really, you have to spend time on it in order, because like I said, sometimes you can come off negative or come off this way. There's sometimes, you know, I don't know, sometimes recently when you have to put your foot down on certain things, and you got it, and anything we do as well, but how you communicate is a big way. It is. But sometimes just being direct, not rude, not loud, but being direct is the way as well. I mean, that's the way as well. So we have to understand that too. You know, but a lot of times the large goal, you know, I mean, we want to understand that, you know, I mean, it is, you know, you want definitely, you know, have a presentation that can be, you know, conveyed in a way where it seems like, you know, I mean, it's very inviting. Very inviting. It's not, you know, something that, you know, could be memorable as well. Don't get me wrong, it could be memorable as well. You know, I mean, like I told you, I mean, I don't think that, you know, I don't say much because I'm here and I'm all over the place, but I'm telling you, I mean, you just don't know all the people, you know, all the skills that, you know, that's even in this building here right now, that all the skills that they have. You just never know, you know, definitely. And that's how you make a strong team, when you have people that can do different things. That's what you have. So you don't have four. If I'm, you know, bad, like I told you before, I think they smarter than me. Hey, I'm glad you are, and that's fine. I mean, let's use this, you know, and bring it to the positive direction, in the direction we need to go. Not saying, you know, I need to be, and I know some people aren't like it, but a lot of times, you know, this is what happens. And it's, you know, it's okay. It's okay to sometimes I mean, it talks about communicate. We have to sometimes simplify it. Just make it easy to simplify what we're doing. Do this, do that. Don't do this, don't do that. We have to do that, you know, definitely to make it clear. All right. We're winding up now. Like I said before, we'll continue to do this. Like I said, we'll do it in different directions. Like I said, Mike, sorry he wasn't here today. I know we said he would be. He's out doing some work, like I said, for a good teammate. Definitely a good teammate, you know. So shout out to Mike. But definitely next week, we'll let him. I don't even know, but you know, it'd be business type, but you know, but feel free to comment if you want to talk about anything as far as us to come up with some more. We're trying to get some more people, and we're trying to get these chairs filled up, really need going. And hopefully we will. Hopefully we'll get big. We can do that. So I thank everybody for looking and listening, and we'll do it again next week. Thank you. Where you going?